Welcome back to another episode of The Last Zebra. I'm your host, Ugo Ezema. As always, please don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment. Today's guest is Chanen Johnson. Welcome to the show.
Thanks. I'm excited.
Thanks so much for coming through.
It's going to be fun.
We're having back-to-back Johnson week. So
I know.
Shout out to Joanne.
Should be good.
Shout out to Joanne for the previous episode, and you're coming through for this one.
Yay.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, gosh. Well, I'm 28, and I'm married to Joanne, as people know from last couple weeks ago, I guess. Been living in New Orleans for the past almost 5 years. Oh, my gosh. I do social media for a living. I used to be a teacher, and now I do this. And it's very weird and random. And I have a daughter, and I have another one on the way. And yeah.
Where are you from?
Me. I'm from California, Upland, if people know where that's at. Like 30 minutes outside of LA. Born and raised, left for college. I went to Penn State, and then went back, worked there for a while, and then here I am.
What did you do your education in Penn State?
Communications of Arts and Sciences, which is basically like public speaking. So I guess I kind of used my degree. And then I had a minor in media studies.
Wow. So, I mean, that's kind of what you do now anyway.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't need my degree per se to like show to people. So I don't technically use it. But I mean, the education part, totally.
You probably could like just have your degree in your background just to be like, guys, like this is
the real deal.
Yeah,
Like
this is kind of legit.
I should, if I knew where it was.
Oh.
Should probably find that.
And so all your family is from where? What's the name of the town?
Upland, California.
Upland?
Yes, it's the Inland Empire. It's really not where anyone wants to live.
How far is that from any major city that I might recognize?
It's 30 minutes from LA, 45 maybe. Traffic, 3 hours. Ontario. No. What else? I'm like between Palm Springs and so like Coachella Valley and LA. I'm like right in the middle.
Gotcha. Any brothers and sisters?
No, only child.
Wow. And your parents they're from here?
No, my parents are from California, but they live here now. So they would say they're locals and from here. But yeah, they moved here a year ago, actually, almost in July, a year.
Over the last 5 years, you guys moved here because of Joanne, working for the Saints.
Yes.
What has been your favorite part of being in New Orleans?
The atmosphere. I hear about so many other teams and like just people being bored. I mean, we don't live anywhere that would be boring, which is nice because people like, live in Buffalo and I would hate that. So, I mean, it's a great city to be in. There's always something going on. I've been pregnant for the past 3 years, so I haven't been able to enjoy it. But yeah, it's just like always fun here. We love it.
Who is your, outside of Joanne, who is someone that you lean on? And now your parents are here. Who are the people that you kind of lean on to because it can be lonely.
Yeah.
Right? Especially when he's not here, with traveling and all that stuff. Who are some of the people that you lean on to kind of help support you through day-to-day life with your own endeavors and, of course, being a mom?
Mm-hmm. Now that I'm a mom, my mom, I literally am with her every single day. I have help every single day from my mom. Before that, honestly, just the girls on the team, which kind of is tough because like obviously like people get traded or things happen and then they leave, so it's like always new people every year. Also, we have lived in New Orleans full time every single year. A lot of families don't, so like half the year people are leaving, so it kind of gets lonely. But at least in the half of the year where people are gone, Jawan's home. Mm-hmm. But like during season it's just like literally us girls like all the time together because no one gets it except for us, That's what we always are like talking about. I feel like that's the one thing that all the NFL wives are always talking about is like no one understands what it's like except for us. So we got to stick together.
Let's dial back to leaving California to go to Penn State. Mm-hmm. What was that decision like? Obviously, you were leaving from high school to go to college and to pursue your major, and you were in athletics too.
Yes.
So what was the decision to go so far? Because Pennsylvania is a decent it's a decent few miles away from California.
Yeah.
What was that process like? Choosing the school and choosing to be far away from home, and going through that.
Truthfully, I never wanted to go to Penn State.
Really?
I always wanted to go to Georgia. And so
the Bulldogs, Georgia?
The Bulldogs.
Okay.
Yes. And my freshman year of high school, I committed to Georgia.
This is for
gymnastics. Yes, gymnastics scholarship. I got the scholarship freshman year. And I was committed for 3 years. And then the summer before my senior year, they hired a new coach. And no one really liked the new coach. Every single girl, minus one from my class, decommitted, including myself. She got on me about my weight and stuff. And I was like, I'm really not going to deal with this. It literally made me anorexic, actually, which is a whole nother story in and of itself. But yeah, so I was like, I'm out of here. At that point in gymnastics, you kind of commit like the typical year to commit to for a gymnastics scholarship is your sophomore year. So there wasn't really that many schools with scholarships left. I was going to go follow the coach because he's actually the head coach at LSU now. The coach that I was with at Georgia, he was like my favorite coach of all time. I'm obsessed with him. But there wasn't a scholarship yet available. And he was like, oh, there's going to be one like soon, but you'd have to wait. And I was too scared to wait because I'm already like about to be a senior. So it was between Kentucky, Cal, and Penn State. And I honestly just fell in love with Penn State and the coaches and the girls. And I was like, okay, I'm going here. I didn't even visit the school before committing. I just went there. So yeah, that's how I ended up going to Penn State. It was a very last minute decision, but I wouldn't have met Jawan. So it was a great one, but definitely was not my plan my whole life.
Were you scared then leaving home? Was that your first time leaving home in that capacity?
Yes, except I did elite gymnastics my whole life, and I would have to leave like for a week at a time every month and live in the middle of nowhere, Texas. So I was kind of used to like being away from my mom and dad, but not to that degree. But gymnastics kind of took me everywhere, so it wasn't something I wasn't prepared for, especially since I was committed since I was a freshman to a faraway school too. So I already knew it was coming.
How did you get into gymnastics? Is it what I think it is, in that your parents kind of saw something or wanted to get you an extracurricular activity? How did you get into gymnastics?
So me and all my cousins were in dance, and I was the one like just being crazy while they were all like being cute and like dancing. I was like the one rolling around and like sprinting through the dance floor, and they pretty much like kicked me out.
They kicked you out?
I was just like not a good dancer. Student. No. So they put me in gymnastics and I fell in love. I feel like every little kid falls in love with gymnastics. And so that was me. And then once you're good, it's like you're stuck. And not in a bad way, but it's like, you know that you're going to go somewhere in the sport. So it's like, you know, when you're like 7, if you're going to be good. So
what do you love about gymnastics?
There's so many things. It's definitely like a sport that I feel like different than any other. The way that like the bond is between all the girls, obviously. Being able to do an individual sport but still feeling like a team was really fun. It did kind of cause more stress because it's like at the end of the day, like you're competing for yourself, but your score matters with the whole team. But it was just so much fun. It's like there's nothing like the feeling of like doing gymnastics. It's like hard to explain. Like when people who are retired from gymnastics talk about it, they're like, oh, I just need to go upside down. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I miss being upside down, but no one gets it unless you're a gymnast. So yeah, it just sticks with you forever.
Gymnastics has had somewhat of a renaissance in like public consciousness because, you know, every time the Olympics comes about.
It's the sport.
I know.
Yeah.
Especially for United States, the past few Olympics, there's been some just fantastic gymnasts.
Yes.
Do you still watch gymnastic competitions when Olympics comes around? Do you still watch them?
Yeah, I'm gonna watch this year.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I've been watching since I was a little girl. That was always the goal. You know, every gymnast wants to go to the Olympics. And I did elite gymnastics, so a lot of my friends ended up going to the Olympics.
That's awesome.
And so, I mean, it's always been fun to watch. I will say I'm kind of old now, so like, there's not really anybody that was like around when I was around that's now competing, except for Simone, but she was like much younger than me when we were doing stuff together. So yeah, so now it's just really for fun. Before I was like watching my friends, but yeah.
That's awesome. Competing for Penn State, once you got there, so collegiate level, was there that much of a difference in is there a jump in quality of gymnasts? I'm sure there is, but what are the big sticking points that make someone an elite gymnast? Like if you're going from high school gymnast to college gymnast to professional, what are some things that you look at and you're like, yeah, that's a really good thing?
Yeah. So it actually goes high school, like they call it junior Olympic when you're like levels 1 through 10. And that's like the very standard like gymnastics. You can go to college doing junior Olympic gymnastics. So it's junior Olympic, elite gymnastics, college. You definitely hit your peak when you're very young. By the time you're in college, like you're still good, but you're definitely not as good as you used to be.
Wow.
Like college is kind of like it's the reward. Like when I quit elite gymnastics the year before the Olympics, I was like, oh, I'm going to go to college because I want to have fun finally. So like college gymnastics is known to be like more relaxed, fun, not as difficult. You don't have to like pull the hard skills. It's like easier. If you were an elite, if you were level 10, it's kind of like,
you keep going.
Yeah. Like it's like kind of where you were at. But if you're an elite, you get to dumb down your routines and like have fun. So college is definitely, it was finally a time to have fun in gymnastics.
Did you compete all throughout your years in college?
I did not, yes, except for my senior year. I did not compete my senior year because I medically retired.
What does that mean?
I had my 4th ankle reconstruction and they were like, yeah, if you want to run with your kids, you can't do gymnastics anymore. So I was like, okay, fine. But yeah, that was like a weird and very last minute decision this summer before my senior year. Was not expecting, I was just going to like maybe compete bars only and like try. But they were like, no. I did that last surgery and they said it was ruined. So, and it's still ruined today.
Do you feel, was there some kind of passion with gymnastics that in such a way that when you were told you couldn't do it anymore, that you felt like you lost something meaningful?
Yeah, it definitely was a bummer. I was upset and I felt like going one more year, I would have like completed everything. But I kind of had to like put myself in the perspective of starting next year, I have an entire life to live. And I'm going to be real mad at myself if I do something selfishly now when I have literally years to come where I won't be able to do stuff with my kids. And it was kind of fun to like actually experience college without like having to go to practice every day and stuff. So that was like the one perk of like being able to not compete my senior year, but I was still a manager on the team. So
what was that role like, being a manager?
I pushed mats and got to be at the meets and just wear a uniform, but like not the leotard, just like the, and yeah, push mats. But I was still on the team. I was still on the roster. So that was my thing. I was like, okay, it's fine. Like you're still on the team. But yeah, it was sad.
And you met Juwan at Penn State.
Yes.
How did y'all meet?
It was a mutual friend's birthday party. And it was the summer before my senior year. So I had actually like just decided that I was going to medically retire. So he's actually never seen me do gymnastics.
Oh.
Yes, which is sad. But he did go to my meets and watch me push mats. So that was nice.
He saw you be a manager.
Yeah, great.
Which is important.
But yeah, it was a mutual friend's birthday party. We had like known of each other through a Bible study we were in together. But like never really talked or did anything. Like, college athletes just kind of like know each other when you're at the same school, whatever. So, but yeah, the birthday party and the rest is history. I didn't like him at first, but after that, it was good.
What was it? What was it like in terms of, so, because you were essentially at the tail end of your career in athletics, and for a college football player, that's generally like right there in the beginning, especially if they want to go to the pros. What was that mesh between y'all's two's goals, especially in the beginning? What was that, something that came up? Was it something y'all spoke about?
I don't think it's anything we really spoke about, but it's something that I was always like, wow, I would have never been able to date him if I was on the gymnastics team, because I was like a very committed, like any athlete, but like I didn't have time. Like if I had practice, like, I was studying, the schedule of an athlete is just like nonstop. And so there's no way that I feel like I would have been able to manage like being in a relationship with him with his also crazy schedule.
Right.
So I was like, wow, like this is amazing because I literally get to wait for him to be done with practice and I don't have to worry about my own practices and stuff. So I actually got done with all my schoolwork by the time he's done and we can actually hang out. And so it made it really easy to jump into our relationship. I don't think it would have worked otherwise. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Now that so we're some years removed from college, do you feel like, was there anything else you wish you could have gotten done? Because it sounds like that last year was a very, very pivotal year for you. Yeah. Are there times you wish you had more of that time, essentially, where you were able to kind of explore yourself and have a little bit more fun? And do you ever look back and say, man, I kind of wish I did more with college outside of gymnastics and academics?
Honestly, I would be upset looking back if I had competed my senior year. My senior year was the first year I had fun, like college fun. Like I feel like I actually went places and did things, and I did summer school, and like summer school is so fun. I don't care what people say. I had a great time at summer school. And so it was like nice to be able to just like be a student and like go take tennis classes and like do stuff and feel like my life wasn't revolved around gymnastics, because for the last 20 years it was. So now I'm like, to me, I felt like I got my college. Yeah, everything I needed from college I got, and I felt like it was like the perfect senior year way to end school. And I was ready to graduate by the time I was done. I also stuck around for a little bit while Juwan was finishing up school, so I also didn't leave right away. But like, no, I don't have any regrets at all.
That's awesome. And because Juwan also left to go to Oregon. And what was that conversation like? Right? Because were you already done by that time?
I was done. So we are 6 months apart, but I was a senior while he was a junior.
Gotcha.
But he did start school early when a lot of the football players start like the summer before their season or whatever. So he was a December graduate. So we were only like graduating like 6 months apart. So it wasn't that long, but yeah.
Okay. So once that decision was made, you guys were kind of on the same track anyway.
Well, that's another story. Joanna and I were broken up at the time.
Oh.
Okay, so we broke up in like, I guess, October of 2018. Got back together in December of 2018. But in that time, I was like, I'm out of here. Peace out. Because I was like waiting for him. I was like, okay, well, when he graduates, like he's going to go to the NFL and we'll figure out where we're going to live. And like, I just guess I have to wait for him. So I was like literally working at this job I hated. I was selling DirecTV at Sam's Club. Hated that. Horrible. But as soon as we broke up, I was like, all right, bet. I don't want to work at Sam's Club anymore. I don't want to see your face everywhere, because he was a senior, so his face was plastered on every window, like the senior football team. Like, no. So I moved back to California, literally like drove home by myself. We got back together literally 2 months later, so then we had to do long distance. But he decided in like maybe January, February that he was going to transfer. So at that point, for me, I was like, yes, because when he went to, like, it was Oregon.
Right.
So I'm in California. I'd much rather do long distance between Oregon and California than Penn State.
Right.
So I was team Oregon at that point. So it made it easy because I got to literally go travel to him every weekend. Like not a single weekend would go by that I didn't go visit him. So it was the best. I would have hated if he was at Penn State.
When did it like dawn on you, or when did you start figuring out, man, like, because you watch his games, I'm sure. And you see the impact he'll have in the game. When were you like, oh man, this dream might be a reality for him, this dream of playing professional football? Because he when he was here, he told me when he felt like, man, I should probably pursue this professionally.
Right.
When did you feel like, wow, this might, because it's one thing to support.
Yeah.
It's another thing to like buy into the dream. When did you feel like?
That's a hard one because I've never really understood football that much.
That's fair.
So I think being oblivious was the best thing for me because I am a very like control freak type of person.
Okay.
So I feel like I would have been very stressed out if I understood how football worked and how he was doing and like the trajectory of everything. Like, I don't want to know. I didn't want, like, it was too much for me. I was just always like, oh, he's going to the NFL. When he said on the podcast that he didn't even think he was going to make it to the NFL until he was in the NFL, I was like, okay, cool. Well, you should have told me that, because like I could have like kept my job maybe, or not moved to New Orleans. Like, I don't know. The worst thing that ever happened was the simple fact that the house that we all used to live in together, we signed that thing literally in May of 2020. And at that was like COVID years. So we didn't even come and start training camp or anything until August.
Right.
We signed it in May, and we signed a year-long lease. And everyone, like when we got here in August, everyone was like,
that's bold.
You signed a year-long lease when you're an undrafted free agent? And we were like, and I was like, Juwan, can you get cut? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, what do you mean you can get cut? You have a contract. And he's like, no, I mean, I could still get cut. And I'm like, bro, why did we do this? So honestly, I guess same. Like I kind of started, like once he made the team, I was like, okay, I can breathe again. But before that, he just always wanted to go to the NFL. So I was like, I figured he would. Mainly because like in college, agents would come visit him and like have meetings. Like people were like investing into him. So I was like, okay, well, if he's good enough, then we'll do it. But yeah, then, camp came and he did get cut. Right. But it all worked out.
It worked out.
Yeah.
What are some unique challenges that, as you guys have grown together, professionally, personally, what are some unique challenges that only someone in your position would probably appreciate or recognize? It's because you've been there from the beginning, right? So like, what are some unique challenges from the beginning and to now?
The beginning is like so stressful. The draft process, sitting there on draft day, like, oh my gosh, I felt so bad for him because he was undrafted, and like sitting there on draft day and just like him not getting drafted was like the worst. And it was 2020. We're bored. We're sitting at home doing nothing. And then like, I mean, he got picked up like 2 seconds after the draft, which was nice. But like that whole process before the draft, I don't think anyone, unless they were a rookie in 2020, would understand, because he was out here doing training outside, like on the side of the house. Like it was just a weird experience, and it was like very scary, and it was like the longest few months. Coming here, I feel like the things that the girls like understand that other people wouldn't is just like how much of a commitment it is. A lot of us have to like quit our jobs and follow our husbands. And like I quit my job. I used to be a teacher, and I like, obviously that was like a very stable job. And then to follow him, where apparently during camp I found out it's unstable. Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, well, I'm a married gal, so like I'm committed, I'm here for it. But that's why I don't understand how like the dating relationship girls follow these men. I'm sorry, I would never follow you if I didn't have a ring. Are you kidding me? Like the fact that you could be on a new team tomorrow and then a new team the day after that, and like, no, like the commitment is like so much.
It's uncertain. There's a lot of uncertainty.
Yes. And it requires a lot of like sacrifice from us. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. Like they just want to judge the wives for being stay-at-home wives or stay-at-home moms, or not having a big wild career like their husbands, because they literally had to sacrifice everything so that they can have that career. Like if I decided that I wanted to keep doing something in California, we would never see each other. Half the people that are, everyone who's married to an NFL player used to have a job that they loved, but we had to sacrifice that. So I feel like that's like the one big thing that like mentally a lot of us struggle with, is like the judgment from others, just hating on us for not having a career like them, or like being gold diggers or whatever.
You mentioned teaching. How did you go from media communications?
Yes.
What were you teaching?
So it was,
and where?
It was California. They called it RSP. I don't even know what that would be in every state, because it's different every state. But it's like the class in between special needs. Like if you have special needs and you need to be in like you're not quite in a special needs class, but you're also not quite in gen ed. That middle class.
Gotcha.
The extra help class.
Gotcha.
Essentially. So yeah, I loved it. I did 5th grade. It was really cool.
How did you get into that?
Literally my whole family, all of them are teachers. And so it was kind of just like a nice like stable job to have. And I knew that I wasn't going to do it forever because I knew Juwan was going to end up moving somewhere and like I was going to leave. But I was like, for now, this was really fun. A lot. Like I worked at the same school with my cousin at one point. So it was like really cool to be like, hey, Miss Sarah, hey, Miss Chanen. Like it was so much fun.
How long did you end up doing that for?
Honestly,
before you guys moved down?
A year and a half, like not that long at all, but it was so much fun. I honestly miss it. I would go back.
You would?
Yeah.
In what capacity would you go back now? In your Shannon Johnson now, how do you think you could kind of become that kind of role again? It would be different. It
would be different. It would be when he's done with football. I couldn't have that job when he's in football because if he trains in another city half the year, what do I do? Just quit half the year? Like they're not going to keep me on, like, you know, they're going to hire someone else. So it would have to be when like time could be committed to me and not his job. Right. So yeah, down the road, maybe.
So now it's been 5 years. You guys have gone through quite a lot in those 5 years. Mm-hmm. You became a social media, sensation. Is that a fair word?
Sure.
What has that been like?
It's been crazy.
Because it's intentional.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is it what you thought it would be in terms of the goal, the ultimate goal? And I'm sure there are pros and cons.
Yeah.
What has that? What are some of your favorite pros? What are some of the most annoying cons?
Favorite pros, I get to do what I love from anywhere. Doesn't matter what happens with his career, I can be anywhere. I get to do what I love with him. We made a great decision randomly when we started social media to have a joint account. And it was like the best decision ever. And I feel like there's really not that many couples that have like a so-and-so and so-and-so account. And like we did Ju and Chan. And I feel like that was so amazing and so smart because one, we get to do everything together. He doesn't post his own content and I post my own content. It's like our content, couples content, like very niche for that, which I love. Also financially, like we get paid well because of that, because brands have to pay me, the influencer with the followers, but also him, the football player, professional athlete. So like together we like get extra pay, I feel like, which is nice. I was not expecting this career to take off the way it did and actually like be able to become what it is at all. I was actually the one who was not into it as much as he was, mainly because I was like shy and like I cared too much and I would be the one putting on a face of makeup before every single video and like think that was gonna make people want to watch my videos more, when now I'm like, how can I look as ugly as possible on the internet, because then people are gonna watch it and hate on me, and then I'm gonna get extra comments about how ugly I am.
Right.
Like it's great. Like I love that. So I feel like the things that are negative, like people hating on you or seeing everything about your life and like feeling like they have something to say, is rough and hard to deal with. But at the same time, it's kind of a perk because it benefits my brand. So yeah, pros and cons, but I mean, I signed up for it. So
how did you guys come to that decision that you wanted to get into social media, be influencers, and be very public about your life? How did y'all, and what was that discussion like?
It wasn't even something that we like really decided together. It was during 2020. It was like after the draft. It was like June 2020. And we got on a Zoom call with Juwan's entire football agency. Gary Vaynerchuk is like the guy who like started everything. With
Gary V?
Gary V.
Oh.
Yes. So it's like his brother's football agency, and like obviously Vayner is like everything. So Gary got on a Zoom call with all of us and was like, I need all of you guys to get on TikTok. And this was like before TikTok was like TikTok, you know? TikTok became a thing like in this, like maybe it wasn't June, it was like maybe like before the summer, and the summer of 2020 is when TikTok blew up. But he was like, yeah, feel like I'm usually right about stuff, and I just have this feeling that TikTok's about to be the next big thing. I think all of you should get on. I don't care who you are, what, like you need to be on TikTok. And I was like, oh my gosh, well, Gary Vee said to do it, so we kind of have to do it. But I was like, not really like into it. We were posting like random stuff, like cooking videos and like, you know, all the dances that everyone did in 2020, and like nothing did good. But we had one viral video and then popped off.
It kind of took off from there.
Popped off.
That's really interesting, because I often wonder, especially when you're looking on the screen and something, you know, especially if you're on Instagram, on Facebook, and you're going through the reels, it's because of how artificial that whole process is, you forget that like there are people who are actually putting in some sort of, you know, effort behind that.
Yeah.
And just now I thought about, there's some videos that I'll look within a second, I just like, nah, I don't like that. Nah, I don't like that. And just keep going. When you put out a video, do you have any or any content, do you ever have a feeling like, do you have an expectation for it, or you just do it, put it out, keep it moving?
Yeah. I will say, I feel like TikTok is like a very like in the air app. You can like, I don't want TikTok to hate me, but I feel like you could trust other apps for your content to always do good. Like on Instagram, every one of your followers is going to see your video. And if it does good, then it'll be on the For You page and it'll get even more followers, right? You're guaranteed to get a good amount of followers. TikTok, it doesn't matter how many followers you have. If you have 0 followers, you can still get 10 million views. Or if you have 30 million followers, you can get 10 million views.
Right.
It doesn't matter, which is great for like beginners. But like obviously people who have a lot of followers would hope that all of their followers would see stuff.
Right.
But that's like the difference between the apps. But most of the time you do have an idea for like what's going to perform well, specifically because you have like a niche. But also just if it's stuff that people want to hear about, like you usually know. And like I know when a video is going to go viral typically. But
you guys also do a lot of really personal things, right? Mm-hmm. So I remember when you were going through miscarriage. And obviously I think we were neighbors at the time. Mm-hmm. And so it was as someone who knew you guys, I was just like, man, like they're going through a lot, right? And seeing you so vulnerable in that space. Joanna and I spoke about this briefly, about trying, the reason you'd want to put something like that out there. What was your reason for wanting to put something like that out there?
When that happened, I felt like I had never talked to anyone that's had that happen to them before. And so I felt this like urge to talk about it because I was confused and scared. One, I just wanted to get it out there and be like, what's going on? But also I wanted people to know that happened, because when I sat at the doctor's office and they said that happens to 2 out of 3 women or 2 out of 3 pregnancies, I'm like, okay, well, that's annoying because I had no idea. But the second I posted it, you know, we got hit up by so many people telling us that happened to them or like sharing their stories. And it made me realize that like, as much as it's uncomfortable and very tough to like share your story and like explain your life to people with that type of capacity, it made me realize that's what I need to do. So at this point, anytime anything happens to me, it's out there and I'm sharing it. And sometimes it's hard, you know, you get hate, whatever. But like, for me, it's like the best way to feel like I'm doing something productive and like real and like actually making a difference in the world. Because I feel like with my old job, I was like helping kids every day and I was feeling like, okay, cool. Like this is like a feel good job. Like I'm doing something good for the world. And I'm like, okay, now what? I'm dancing on the internet. Like doesn't feel as like fulfilling, you know?
Right.
So doing stuff that's deep and personal and like helpful for people made me feel like I'm actually doing something with my job, you know?
Do you think there are things that you wouldn't, like you've said, maybe not this? Are there things that you've said to yourself, no, maybe not this? Like, has that come up for you where you're like, this one I will keep to myself. This one is for me. This one is for us.
I feel like there's maybe a few things we haven't shared, but for the most part, I would say it's 99% everything we've shared. Obviously, like we have our boundaries with our relationship and like we post our daughter. People like to hate on that. I mean, I'm going to post my daughter. I love my daughter, you know? And, you know, people have their own opinions. And I feel like we talk about through things, and it's like, we don't post everything about her. We don't post all of her. She's like one of the things that we keep to ourselves a lot, but she's still in most of our videos. It's just, we're not sharing every intimate detail about her. So yeah, it's stuff we talk about, but for the most part, it's everything.
I often wonder about, you know, we talk about like child actors. There are people that we watch grow up, essentially. So there's somebody out there that, you know, who has been following you guys from the beginning, who is going to watch your daughter grow up. How do you feel about that?
I feel like with me and Juwan and this being like our thing, I've came to realize and never really been like blown away. Like, people will come talk to us about stuff that's about us. And I'm like, oh yeah, I share that. So like, you know, some random person on the street that I don't know, they'll come to me and be like, you feeling better? I know you were sick last week. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. But when they come to me about my daughter, I'm like, you know about Dory? And then I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I post about Dory. But it's like very crazy. Like, I'll be getting my hair done. Someone will walk in and be like, I recognize that baby. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is like actually crazy. Cause yeah, people like, they recognize so much about her, you know, like she's, anywhere we go, they're like, oh my gosh, she's getting so much bigger. Or like, oh, her hair today, it's so cute. I'm like, I kind of love it because I think it's like fun for people to be able to like see her like progress and grow up, and like it's part of our journey, so it's fun. But yeah, that's like hard for me to like, it doesn't click really with her.
Mm-hmm. And you have another one on the way, girl. Do you feel, is there anything you'd change about how you've parented Dory thus far? Anything off the top of your head that you're like, you know, we'll do this a little differently? Anything in general?
Honestly, no. Just because I feel like every kid's going to be different. And I feel like with Dory, we did everything that was best for Dory, you know? And this one, I don't know what she's going to be like, but everything that we're going to do is going to have to be what's best for her. So I don't think that I mean, things will probably change, but it's not stuff that I'm just like intentionally changing. It's just gonna be what's best for that baby. But it was like such a live and learn process. We're learning that I'm like, we're just gonna live and learn with the second one and the third one, whatever. Like, that's just how it's gonna be. And we just are trying our best to enjoy it. I feel like people love to act like having kids like ends your life. And so that's another thing we do like on the internet. Like, I want people to know it's fun and your life doesn't end. Cause like, first it was us posting our relationship on the internet and they're like, oh, when people get married, like their life's over. We're like, no, it's like really fun being married. And then now it's like, no, it's really fun having kids. Like, progressing in life is the best. Like, it's so much fun. And you don't have to have an end all, like everything's over now. Like, it's fun. So
Dory's a rainbow baby, right?
Yes.
When she was born, knowing what you've been through, knowing what you both had been through, what was that feeling like?
It was crazy. Yeah, I know. When I think about like this next one, I'm like, is it going to be like as mind blowing the second time? Like, I keep thinking about that a lot, but the first time with Dory was like, I just couldn't believe that it actually happened because I was pregnant twice before. And so I was like, oh my gosh, like this is actually happening. Like, I'm actually in the hospital room and this baby's actually about to come out. And yeah, like it was something that I didn't feel like was ever going to happen for me. And so when it did, it was like super cool. And it hit Jawan like a few hours later. And like for me, it was hitting me because I was like feeling it, you know? But for him, like it hit a few hours later and it was like really cool and special for both of us to have like our moment where like it hit us. But yeah, it was definitely cool.
How do you feel motherhood has changed you?
I feel like I think about everything, like every little thing. My world revolves around her now, which is good because I was scared I was going to be the worst mom.
Why?
When I was pregnant, I was like, oh my gosh, what if like I don't like her? Or like, what if I don't have that motherly instinct? Like, what if I'm just not good at being a mom? Like, I feel like these are all just like self-sabotage things that people have when they're pregnant. Obviously I'm obsessed with her. Second she popped out, and like I feel like you kind of just jump into mom mode when you become a mom, and it really doesn't happen until the moment you become a mom. And I'm grateful because I wasn't like this before. And I feel like now, like every second of the day, I'm like, Dory this, Dory that. Like, what does she need? And like, I can read her. And like, I don't know. There's just so many things. Like, it makes me a very like detail oriented person. And I'm always prepared for like anything that's about to come her way. Not my way, but her way. So yeah, I mean, it's cool, but I mean, it's something that I did not think was going to happen.
Given that you guys are in the public eye quite often, if not constantly, when Dory is as she's growing and when she becomes aware of her environment, and she will go through undoubtedly some haters. What's some advice you're going to give to her? Because you guys are well experienced in that realm of hating, if you will, or realm of trolling. Yeah. What's some advice that you can give to her, which is essentially advice you're giving to your younger self?
I don't even know. That's like scary. It's something I think about a lot because she gets hate already. Like whenever I post her, people have something to say, and you know, a comment about her and whatever, it's physical or anything about her. I'm already hearing it, and that's when I actually get upset. Like at this point in my career, I don't get upset about hate comments. I'm sorry. Like, thank you for providing another comment on my page. But when it's about her, I'm like, like that's my baby. So it's going to be hard to like help her navigate that. I mean, I kind of set her up for that because I'm putting her in the public eye. But I think if she, you know, it's starting from an early age and she's aware of what's going on and like she has a great home and like family who's going to keep her level-headed. But like, yeah, I'm going to have to walk her through it the same way I did. I mean, you see it and it bothers you, but you have to teach yourself to not let it bother you. And I mean, it has never anything to do with you, essentially. It's always other people and their personal feelings. And yeah, that's going to be something that comes one day and we're going to have to figure that out. But we already have an Instagram account for her, so I probably should figure it out soon. So that's tough.
What do you think is the most important thing about, because this applies for anyone, right? So like whenever you're challenged in a way that feels malignant. So like when people are purposefully being mean, for anyone in general, you have to have some sort of fortitude about you, something about you that to be able to kind of recognize what that is and not have it bother you.
Yeah.
What do you think is a key ingredient or the key thing that allows someone to kind of overcome that? Because that's not something everyone can do.
Right.
Right.
I think the thing that helped me that I always tell people is to put things into perspective because like people on your day to day, right? Mm-hmm. Like me and you, I'm sure you don't go comment on random influencers stuff and say, oh my gosh, you're a gold digger or you suck at football. Like, right? Like that's just like not what your average Joe is doing. And it kind of like made me realize that it's typically the people that are jealous or sad or 12. And so,
or 12,
you know, and I'm like, am I really going to let a 12-year-old bother me? Am I really going to let someone who's going through it in their own life bother me or whatever? Like, it's always something that has to do with them. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I actually feel bad for you. I think I feel bad for you because you have time. How do you have time to do that? Because I don't have time to do that. I don't even go on social media barely to like scroll. You have time to go comment on people's stuff. So I think like putting it into that perspective is helpful for me, helpful for Juwan. And like, you know, that's like this one thing I always tell people. Because if you actually believe the things that people are saying, like people say wild stuff. So it's like, how did you come up with that? Like you really just want to hurt somebody, you know? So it's like, don't let it hurt you.
What's been your favorite thing about being Juwan's wife, right? So NFL player Juwan Johnson. What's your favorite thing about in that sense of in that kind of status? What's been the highlight of that part of you guys' life?
Highlight of being Juwan's wife. Like football wife life, I feel like the best part of it all is season when you're going to games and, you know, it's just like really fun to like watch him do what he loves to do. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm having as much fun as the rest of the people in the stadium because I'm the one that's scared and stressed. But it's like just really cool and really fun to just be there and like go on the field and see him before the game. And like, oh my gosh, now that we have Dory, like bringing Dory like on the field to see her dad play football, like that's like his dream. Like that's like so many people's dreams. So the fact that he gets to live it and I get to be there and like watch it happen and it like, obviously that's a perk. Like it's cool. It's fun. It's like exciting. And you know, people really enjoy it. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and act like I don't enjoy it.
You brought up the possibility as you're watching him of him getting hurt, right? And he's been hurt before, but thankfully nothing wild.
Yeah.
What are your emotions going through? Like if he's running the route, he gets hit, takes him a little bit longer to get up. What's going through your head?
I know him better than anyone. So like I know when he got hurt. And oh my gosh, what game was it? He like hurt his shoulder at a game. Was it Tampa? Tampa. He hurt his shoulder. It was like the first play of the game. He got a touchdown. Everyone was excited and we were like, yay. I was watching at a friend's house and I was like, yay. And I'm like, I didn't like the way he got up. The way he got up bothered me. And everyone was like, no, he's fine. He got a touchdown. Yay. And I'm like, so they're all over there like, you know, celebrating. And I'm like sitting there watching. And I immediately texted Breon, Jameis's wife. And I'm like, hey, you're at the game. Can you tell me what's going on? And she's like, oh, like, that's what we do. That's what the wives do. If someone's at the game, we all know it. And we text that. Like, if something happens, we're all texting that chick. And what's happening? Was he blinking on the sideline? Is he running to the back? Like, whatever. Okay? Like, yeah. So he had ran out into the locker room, whatever. And I knew that had happened. And he was like back there for a while. So it stressed me out. But like, yeah, I have this thing that I know when he isn't doing well. Also on game days in the dome, I have binoculars.
You have binoculars? Wow.
Don't judge. I got all the girls on. I don't use the binoculars when he's on the field. I use them when he's on the sideline. I posted a joke about that on TikTok and people thought I was kidding, but I really wasn't. It was like me watching him like gossiping with his guy friends on the sideline. I watch him when I'm worried that something happened and I'm like, is he okay? And I always know like, gosh, there's one game where he had such an attitude and I was like, bro, relax. Like he was in such a bad mood that day. And yeah, I was like, I had my eyes on him the whole game because I was like, why are you in such a bad mood? Like, what's wrong? Like I was scared he was hurt, like whatever. So, I mean, for me, I like to stalk him on the sideline.
At the games? At the games. Yeah. So you're watching him, you're not really watching the game?
No, I never watch the game. If he's not in the game, I'm watching him on the side. I don't watch that part.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
What's the plan for the future? You have a very diverse background, right? So media, education, gymnastics, social media. What do you want to do next?
I want to do social media as long as I can. I know how the social media world works, and I know people aren't relevant forever. I'm going to be an old lady one day, and people aren't going to want to watch me. So I have to be prepared for that day. But at that era of life, I would like to do it just for funsies. I feel like right now, like I obviously do it just for fun. Like it's the best, funnest job, but it's also like my full-time job. I feel like when I'm an old lady, hopefully I'm just doing it for kicks and gigs. But I'd like to do that forever, as long as I can. And Jordan and I always say we'd love to step into like the TV space in some way. As you've encouraged me to do a podcast, I would love to be like a host on like a panel TV show, like The View, or like I love The Real. Like Adrienne Bailon is like my favorite person in the world. Oh my gosh! And I just want to be her, the Cheetah Girl. I want to be her. Like I want to be like a little 35-year-old mom going in the morning and like talking on the TV. Like I don't know. It sounds so fun. Like that has been a dream of mine for a long time. I used to really want to do e-news. That was like really cool and something I wanted to do. That would still be fun. But I do think it'd be fun just to sit in a chair and gossip with people, you know?
Wait, so I didn't get to ask you this. Was that the reason you went and did your undergrad in kind of media and communications? Was that the reason?
I always knew that was a dream of mine, but it wasn't something that I thought I can do.
Why?
I always wanted to do social media and I never thought I can do it. So I never really tried. And so I feel like doing social media has given me hope that like, if I didn't think I could do that and I can do this and I actually can, then maybe I can do this, you know?
Right.
So now I'm like, I feel like this dream is tangible. I'm claiming that. But in college and stuff, like it was something I always wanted and I always said that, but I like never did anything to pursue it. Yeah, I honestly didn't really have like a job that I was ready to do out of college. Like I didn't have this like, this is the first job I'm going to take type of goal. I always talk about that because I feel like people do go into college being like, this is what I want to do. And I didn't have like a next step.
What do you think it's because so much of your life up to that point was basically gymnastics?
Right.
And up until essentially your senior year, you never really had to think of anything beyond that. Do you feel like that contributed to that?
Yeah. I feel like if it wasn't for Jawan and this social media thing taking off like pretty quickly, I feel like I would have had that like tragic, I'm 24 and I don't know what to do with my life, like thing that everyone has. And it's super common and everyone goes through it. But like being able to do social media, I didn't really have it terrible. I had it for like a year maybe, like when I was working at Sam's.
Good old Sam's.
Yeah, horrible. I hated it. I couldn't go to Sam's Club for the longest time.
You had what is it, PTSD from when you were working there?
Yeah. And now anytime like the people that like call at you at the store like want to talk to you for a sec, I'm like, yes, what can I do for you? I'll buy it. Like I know what it's like.
Would you want to do the panel thing yourself? Or would you like it set up in such a way that it exists like The View or The Talk, and you kind of get brought into it?
I would like to be brought into it. I think it's more fun to do stuff with people. And I think if it was like, you know, the Drew Barrymore show where she's like by herself, I'm sure she has a great time. It looks fun. But I want to do something where like I'm sitting there talking with other people. So I don't think I would want it to be just me. It would also be really cool if it was me and Jawan. Like there's not really any couples that do that for the most part, except for, what's her name? Kelly.
I was just about to say Kelly and her husband, Mark.
Yeah. But he keeps getting traded out.
I know.
So like, it'd be cool to have like a Ju and Chan show. Like that'd be so fun. But that's like a goal that I haven't even really like figured out how it would work out. But I do think it could. We'll see.
It 100% can. I think you should. You should 100% invest in that.
Yeah, totally.
So let's say you couldn't, I always ask my guests this, you couldn't do what you're doing now. So like right now, for a reason, you couldn't be an influencer anymore.
Yeah.
Mom is in the books. Wife is in the books. Then you had to do something. What would you do?
I would teach.
You would teach.
Yeah. I had a really good time doing that. And Jawan's secret dream is to always be a athletic director. So we can be like the people, like that couple at the school, like where he's the athletic director and I'm the teacher. I think that'd be so cute and fun. So that would be like a really fun life. And I secretly want like a small town, like little quiet life. Yeah. So honestly, maybe we'll actually do that one day.
After you're done hosting your panel show.
Right. I think I have too many goals, but yeah, I just broad.
Do you think there's a way you could put them together, being a host or something like that and still be in education?
People are really busy with that lifestyle. I've heard like they're getting up at 3 a.m. and doing stuff like for a few hours, like, you know, like till like noon, you know, I don't know. But again, like not everything lasts forever. So I feel like it'd be really cool to like have multiple jobs. Like why not? You know?
If you could live anywhere else other than New Orleans, where would you live? Or California? Okay.
No, I'm not living in Cali. Mobile, Alabama.
What? Mobile?
Yeah. I want to like live in the middle of nowhere so bad. I would totally quit my job and be a teacher right now if I lived in Mobile.
Why? Are you saying Mobile just as a random place, or is it specifically something to Mobile?
It's just like the perfect little...
Have you been?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Wow. I went and visited. I took a picture with the Mobile sign. Like, I'm passionate about Mobile. I really love Mobile. Wow. Yeah, I think it's just...
The birthplace of Mardi Gras?
You know, I didn't know that. I mean, but I saw like they have the same streets.
Yeah.
All the same streets. Yeah, I think it's just that I really want to live in a small town. I want to live in the South. Like, I want to feel like, you know, I'm going to the store and everyone knows who I am and they like know my regular order, you know? Like, that's the life I want to live. So it's him who's holding me back, because I would live in Mobile right now if I could. It's only a 3-hour commute to practice. So.
That is true. It's not far at all.
It's close.
You could probably stop and slide down and run on the way here, and that'll be your warm up. I'm sure.
Exactly.
I'm sure that
there's
work.
so many things, but he's just being difficult.
Would you do a farm and all that stuff?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I would love that life.
Gardening, farm, cows, goats.
I would love some cows and pigs and like little chickens.
How does a girl from California, or maybe I'm judging California too hard. Is your town is a small town as well? I guess I don't think of small town California, but do you feel like
small town California is still a pretty darn big town? But I think that's why. I think I'm like LA, it's so overwhelming. And I like lived and worked in LA and for a long time. And I just don't want to have a city life. I just don't. I've been there, done that. Like, I want to be in nowhere. That's what I want.
Wow. Yeah, I've never heard anyone say they want to be in Mobile, Alabama. Not once.
Mama Tot. Do you not follow Mama Tot on social media?
Mama Tot? Who's that?
She's a very popular TikToker from Mobile.
Wow.
She's so cool. I love her. She's like an inspirational little lady.
What does she talk about?
She literally like brings her lunch and sits in front of the camera and just motivation. Like, she's like, I know you're having a hard day, but if you're eating lunch alone, like, I'm eating lunch with you. Like,
older lady?
She's like middle-aged.
Wow. Maybe I need to find her.
Yeah, I'll show you her. She's the best.
Anything that you currently, it's off season. What do y'all do to kind of let the time pass? What are your hobbies outside? Because your job is social media. Your career is social media. What do you do to kind of pass the time? What are your fun things that you enjoy to do? What are your hobbies?
I feel like hobbies have been a little out the window lately. Being pregnant and being busy. But Joanne likes to golf. So I like to be the golf gal. I love tennis, but I've been pregnant and I haven't really done tennis like that since my back is breaking from just picking up my kid. So I haven't done any of that, but that was something that we both said we wanted to do this year.
Pickleball?
He does a lot of pickleball. I would totally do it if my back wasn't broken. And I really want to be a horseback rider.
What?
And there's like horseback riding classes you can take here in New Orleans that I was also going to do, but then I got impregnated. It's just really holding me back.
Joanne is stopping you from living your best life right now.
So rude in every way. First his job, now this. Like, sucks.
Bruh. I didn't even know they had horseback riding. You're really trying to live this country girl life.
Yeah. I want it so bad. Imagine like equestrian training.
Wow.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Is that different from that's horseback riding, right?
Well, once you're a good horseback rider, then you can be an equestrian because they like jump over stuff.
Oh.
You have to be like good at it first, which I'm not.
Oh, I didn't know that. So
yeah,
equestrian is not the same as just horseback riding.
I mean, it's like a sport essentially, whereas you can just ride a horsey.
I had asked Joanne this about, if y'all have a son and he wants to play football, how would he navigate that, knowing the challenges? We spoke about, you're using binoculars to watch him and you're worried about him being injured. If y'all have a son and he also wants to play football, how would you respond to that?
The way that I panic about her, I can't even fathom like watching my child play football because I'm already panicked about him playing football.
Right.
we've kind of like talked about it before, like that we wouldn't have them do, gosh, what's it called? I don't even know anything about football.
Pee-wee?
Like, yeah, none of that. Like, we don't need to be touching people, right? We can touch people later. What's it called?
Like flag?
Yeah, flag. Sounds rough. Yeah, flag football now.
Yeah.
Regular football later, you know?
So you would still encourage him to play?
If he wants to, but here's the thing. We are like very passionate about the fact that if our kids don't want to do sports, they do not have to. The biggest ick I have is when grown men have a child and like, I can't wait to put him in a sport. Like, please relax. Gross, disgusting. Like, with the second the baby comes out, they're like, my little D1 athlete. I'm like, ew.
Why do you feel that way?
Well, I think it's just like I've seen so many like athlete parents, right? Like the ones that are just so overbearing and annoying and like don't let their kids have a life or like whatever. Like that's the last thing Joanna and I want to do for our kids. Like we want our kids to try multiple sports and see which one they like. And if they don't like it, like I'm not just gonna let them quit everything, but like, you know, like do what you want to do. And I'm not going to force you to do anything. If you want to be an artist, go be an artist.
Right.
I don't care if you're going to be 6'10",
and not play basketball.
Right. If you want to do ceramics, do it, you know? And that's kind of like our thing is like, we're not about that life. We're not about the D1 out the womb thing. So I feel like they're going to be athletic, but it's not something that I'm
going to push.
Obsessed. Yeah.
What do you think? Because you're both obviously athletic and you both did your respective sports at a high level. What are some of the key things that you learned from sports that you don't think you can get anywhere else, but you would still want your kids to kind of learn these lessons?
Yeah. See, I feel like sports at an early age is still important. Like I will definitely have my children in gymnastics specifically at a young age because of like hand-eye coordination and like spatial awareness and just like being able to like understand your body. And I feel like it helps so much in every sport. Like anytime I would have to go try a different sport, I was always good at it because gymnastics just kind of prepares your body for that, I think. So I think gymnastics is a great starter point for boys and girls at a young age.
Right.
Gymnastics is definitely a commitment sport. So truthfully, I probably won't have Dory do gymnastics her whole life just because it's like, I mean, I was homeschooled my whole life because of gymnastics. Yeah. It's just like, it's a big commitment. And I want her to have a life. Because I kind of felt like I didn't have a life a lot of the time. I want her to feel like she has a life and play a school sport. Oh my gosh, I couldn't wait to get to college and like play a sport with the school. That was cool. But yeah, so I mean, I think that type of stuff with gymnastics specifically, I can't talk for any other sport because I didn't do any other sport, but like, you know, sports are great. I mean, it teaches you hard work and like commitment and like not giving up and like all the stuff that sports teach you. So I think it's good. But if they get to an age and they're just not into it anymore, I'm not going to force them.
What was it like being homeschooled?
It was cool. It was, I had practice every day from 12 to 9. And so it just wasn't an option to like go sit in a regular classroom.
Right.
Also, truthfully, like school sometimes is funny because you can get so much done you can finish a day's worth of school in 2 hours. Schools just kind of elongate the entire day. Like there was a point where I was using like the homeschool curriculum from a public school and they would send me their daily whatever they had to do that day. And I would finish by 10.
Wow.
And they would be in school till 3. And I'm just like, the fact that people sit through school all day and they don't do any, like they, you know, because I mean, there's a lot of kids and whatever, lunch and stuff, but it was really cool. I got stuff done really fast. I did different homeschool programs. I did like the online school where you sit there and you like click through the lesson plan every day. And I also just did like the kind where you have like your mom
kind of walk you through
the lesson plans. And I went into class like once a week for an hour. Like I did like all angles of homeschool, but it was cool. I did get to go to high school, which was nice because I quit elite. So yeah, but homeschool was different, but all of my friends were homeschooled because in gymnastics, like a lot of people are if you're like an elite. And so, I mean, all my teammates were on the same boat as me. And like that was like my friends. Like it wasn't like I was missing out on making friends at school because I had everyone at the gym, you know?
Would you homeschool with Dora?
I would. I don't think I want to just because like I really want her to be in a school sport. Like if she's in a sport, I want it to be a school sport and I want her to like have her friends from school, go to practice after class, whatever. Like I think that experience is like really cool and fun. And I really enjoyed that aspect of college. But you know, with the lifestyle we're in, lots of people homeschool because, you know, half the time they're in another state. So if that's something I end up having to do, whether it's partially or full time, like I would do it, but I think the goal would be for all my kids to go to school. That's right now the plan is for them all to go to school.
Gotcha. I guess I haven't given much thought to the structure of homeschool. I think in my mind, I always thought it was a parent there teaching the things to the kid, but it sounds like there's...
I mean, maybe if they're not like actually doing a full curriculum.
Right.
But like I had to do like actual curriculum schooling because I had to have a certain type of diploma in order to be able to get my scholarships.
Right.
So I couldn't just like have like the, you know, ones that mom makes up.
Do you feel like there is, aside from obviously being able to be a little bit more efficient than standard school systems, do you feel like you had a specific advantage once you went to like high school because you were homeschooled?
I feel like I took school more seriously than like a lot of people.
Really?
Yeah, just because I didn't have all day to like goof off and like, you know, I had 2 hours to get all of my stuff done. And so if I needed to figure out my lessons, like I had to figure it out because I had to be done by 10. And it was like, I wasn't distracted really by other people. Like, you know, in high school, whatever, like you're goofing off, hanging out with people, like whatever, like not really focused, but like I always just got stuff done. And when I was done, I got to go live my life. So I was like, always like getting stuff done. Yeah. So I feel like that was like really cool about homeschool. And I feel like sometimes people think that homeschool is like a joke. And a lot of people, I mean, I'm sure it's the people who like make up, you know, curriculum and whatever, but no, I mean, I also had a little bit more intimate of an experience because if I was meeting up with teachers, like it was one-on-one, you know? So it's like I almost had a tutor instead of me with 30 other kids. So it made learning easier.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Chanen Johnson, thank you so much.
Thank you.
This was awesome. Thank you so much. All right.
Cool.
How'd you feel? Thank you so much for watching this episode of The Last Zebra. As always, please don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment. We have new episodes coming out on all of your podcast platforms on Monday mornings and on YouTube on Tuesdays. Looking forward to seeing you guys on the next one.